I wanted to cover the issue of do atheists just lack a belief in God? Let me just say a few words about this because I don't think it's a very good way to describe atheism.
Oh, Jesus. Where's Armored Skeptic? I haven't seen that motherfucker in over a month. This is super serial.
Because if atheism is merely a lack of belief in God, then atheism is just a claim about the atheist state of mind. It's not a claim about God's existence.
Can you get me the president? This is an emergency. No, not the president of the United States. President of Fox News, goddammit. Yes, hello? Is this the Banana Republic? I'm looking for Armored Skeptic. SOS. Looking for Armored Skeptic and good time tonight. Oh, jeez, I can't do this show on my own. I have no idea what I'm doing. Wait, what's that sound? Sounds like it's getting closer. Oh, shit. Ow.
I'm here. What's going on?
Oh, Skeptic, you won't believe it. Somebody's wrong on the internet.
Dear God. I'm actually doing this video response as a request by Noel Plum. He asked his fans to help him out because he had a lot of trouble with it, and I don't blame him. It's hard to even decide where to begin with this video because everything said is so fallacious and the reasoning is so poor. So let's get into the meat of this.
It's basically saying, the atheist is saying, he's saying, it's basically saying, the atheist is saying, he's saying, it's basically saying, the atheist is saying, he's saying...
What the hell are these guys saying? I don't know. What are you guys saying? I don't fucking understand you.
We're just saying, you know what I'm saying, you know what I mean?
He's saying, I'm psychologically, or I'm not psychologically convinced that God exists. Well, so what? That offers no evidence for or against God.
That argument couldn't possibly be more irrelevant. Explain how your ism, your belief in God, is proof that he does exist. You're gonna tell me that you do believe in God, and I'm gonna say, so what? That's no proof that he exists. Do you see how that argument goes nowhere?
You see, most people lack a belief in unguided evolution, yet no atheist would say that that shows that evolution is false.
Right, and I'm hoping that you're gonna lead up to some sort of a point.
So this is not it's not a good definition of atheist to say I just lack a belief in God.
Okay, I really am lost at what your point is here. Unfortunately for you, the definition of atheist is a person who lacks belief or does not believe in God, period. It's not about philosophy, it's not about morality, it's not about life choices, and it's not about beliefs, it's just the lack of belief in one thing, just like theist is a person who does believe in a God or a deity. Unfortunately, I can only imagine that you, a theist, is trying to redefine our word, atheist, to mean something that it doesn't mean now would be for some sort of a nefarious purpose, and maybe that purpose is so that you can more easily tear us down. But unfortunately, that's not the way the English language works, and that's not the way society works, and that's not the way debate works. If you want to tear us down, you have to tear us down for who we are. You can't just redefine the word, and even if you did redefine the word atheist to mean something else, we're just going to come up with a new word for somebody that does not believe in God. Just for shits and giggles here, I'd like you to come up with a definition, a word that means somebody that doesn't believe in God, or somebody that even believes God doesn't exist, and come up with a definition for that word that includes proof that God doesn't exist. Because how the fuck would that even work? I can't think of one definition of anything that is proof that that thing actually exists.
Another reason that atheism is not just a lack of belief in God.
Let me stop you there, because you haven't given us one reason yet, and also you can't tell us what our belief system is. It's our decision. It's up to us to describe what our belief is. You can't possibly tell us what our belief is. Fucking telling you, atheism is a lack of belief in God.
Is because if you say that's what atheism is, or that's what an atheist is, then rocks, trees, and outhouses are all atheists too, because they lack a belief in God.
Oh, great. You've touched on a piece of debate topic that we've been arguing over for years now as atheists, and let me tell you that that goes nowhere. There's atheists that want the word atheist to encompass anything and everything that does not believe, which would be trucks. I mixed the word truck and tree. That's fucking stupid. I fucking gotta delete that part. So nobody knows that I'm a fucking idiot on the internet. Because that would be like the end of me. I'm very fragile. But unfortunately for that line of reasoning, the definition, again, is a person who does not believe. But if you really want to get into the philosophy of it, for somebody to not believe in something, they have to be first presented with the idea of it. Say everybody on the planet did not believe in God, and the whole idea of a God never even came into anybody's minds. Atheists can't exist by definition, because for an atheist to exist, theists have to exist. Just like there would not be any good if there was no evil. You have to have one to have the other, because they're definitions that work off of each other. In a world with no evil and only good, could you say that it's good? Because there's nothing to compare it to. It's just the way it is. So to try to make an argument that a baby is an atheist is just a non-starter to begin with, because a baby can't even fathom the concept of a God, let alone say that he or she does or does not believe that said God exists. Just like the same way you can't say that a rock that rolled off a hill and killed somebody is an evil rock, because a rock can't function in those kinds of terms. A rock has no idea what it is or what it's doing. It just is. That's right, folks. I'm giving you some deep-ass shit today.
Look, it doesn't take any brains to lack a belief in something. A true atheist is someone who believes there is no God.
We've been over this. You can't tell us what we are. I'm open to the concept of there being a God, but I just don't believe it. You want to fight? You fight me? I mean, I might be a cartoon character, but I know karate.
But probably the most important point to make here on this claim that atheists just lack a belief in God is that the atheist is really trying to avoid the burden of proof to say that just a theist has to explain or give evidence for his worldview.
Oh, okay, I see what this is about now. You are upset that we tell you that you have the burden of proof. Unfortunately, that's just the way logic, reason, and science works. Positive claims have the burden of proof. It's just the way that shit works. If that's not the way the world worked, there'd be fucking chaos. People would be saying that they saw a giant flying spaghetti monster, and if it was our burden of proof to say that that's not true, then we might as well just believe that that's true.
Hey, Skeptic, I was riding my bike through the canyon, and a spaceship landed, and he anally probed me for like 72 hours, and I gotta tell you, it wasn't exactly a nightmare. But then they told me that I'm the fucking messiah or some shit, and then they disappeared and left no proof. So I guess you better worship me now, because that's the way that shit works. You can't prove that it's not true.
See, folks, that's fucking chaos.
The atheist doesn't have to give any evidence for his worldview. But that's just not so. Why? Because atheists are always trying to give alternatives to the theistic worldview. They try and say, well, maybe the quantum vacuum brought the universe into existence. Of course, that doesn't explain where the quantum vacuum came from. They try and say that evolution has somehow gotten rid of the need for a designer to life. They try and say that there are other explanations for things that normally we would say God is required to explain.
Cosmology, evolution, and the beginning of the universe are irrelevant to atheism. Atheism makes no claims on any of those scientific subjects. Atheism only makes a claim on one thing, and that is a belief in God. That's it. Yes, there are atheists that try to describe the beginning of the universe and try to describe cosmology and evolution, but that's irrelevant. I mean, yes, there are also theists that do the same thing. There are theists that try to describe the mechanics behind things. They want to know just as much as the rest of us curiously minded people how things work. They might believe that God was the beginner, but they still believe that the Big Bang is how it started, and they just want to know how the Big Bang happened. They just don't want to say God did it and walk away.
So they're trying to come up with positive beliefs that atheistic materialism is the best way to explain reality. In other words, atheists don't lack a belief in materialism. They're not skeptical of materialism. They think that materialism is true.
You're talking about it as if we have the express purpose of proving you wrong, but that's not the way things work. You're just acting super butthurt because there's people that don't agree with you. Unfortunately, that's just the way the world works. Okay? Get the fuck off the planet if you can't handle people that don't agree with you. It's just our society. We're allowed to disagree with you. That doesn't mean that because we have an opinion that's different from you, it is some sort of a malicious intent to hurt your feelings or prove you specifically wrong. That is an extremely childish way of looking at things. That is an extremely specific claim that I gotta tell you is just not true. Not all atheists are materialists. I know quite a few that believe in spiritualism. They believe in angels and they believe in ethereal beings and ghosts. There are atheists that believe in materialism as the only course, but you know what? We're not all like that. That's once again a terrible description of atheism.
As Philip Johnson once said, he said, "He who is a skeptic in one set of beliefs is a true believer in another set of belief."
Well, unfortunately for Philip Seymour Hoffman, that's not true. I'm a skeptic of everything. I'm even skeptical of my own memories of what I did earlier today. I'm a skeptic of the Big Bang Theory. I'm a skeptic of materialism. I'm a skeptic that reality is even real. I'm a skeptic of everything. You probably can't even name one thing that I'm a true believer in. I'm not even a true believer that I exist. But we have to go to some form of pragmatism here. Eventually, you're going to have to stop acting skeptical of things and just act as if that's the way they are so you don't go insane arguing with yourself about these kinds of things. Yes, I can't prove that reality's not real, so I pragmatically live my life as if it does exist.
Lacking a belief in God doesn't automatically establish materialism.
Okay.
Any more than lacking a belief in atheism automatically establishes Christianity.
Are you just coming to this realization now? Because this kind of destroys some of the arguments you've already made. You're arguing with yourself now, it seems like.
No atheist would say that a Christian has made a good case because he lacks a belief in materialism. You see, everyone has the burden of proof to support his or her position.
You've said this before, but you've failed to make a case for why that's true.
What atheists need to do is they need to make a positive case that only material things exist. They have to make a positive case from a materialistic perspective that everything has been caused by materials and consists only of materials.
Oh, folks, he finally shows his hand. He is a fucking asshole. He is literally admitting here. He knows that we're not making a positive claim, so he says, you know what? You guys have to make a positive claim. That way I can tear you down. Unfortunately, that's not the way these things work. We get to make positive claims about whatever the fuck we want to make positive claims about, and we're allowed to reject whatever positive claims we want to reject based on whatever evidence is presented to us. You know, that's just the way things work. You can't get us to get off of our asses and make a positive claim about whether or not God exists. I'm just not going to do it. Okay? I'll make a pragmatic assertion about reality and live my life based on that pragmatic assertion, but I'm not going to outright say, hey, guess what? I believe God does not exist, because, hey, that's not true. I just simply lack a belief. I reject your assertion.
An atheist that we experience today, the new atheist, they're materialist.
Otherwise known as the straw man atheist.
They have to explain from a materialistic viewpoint how the universe came into existence, why it's fine-tuned, where the laws of nature came from, and what are the laws of nature, the laws of logic, the laws of mathematics, information. Where did life come from? Mind and consciousness. How do you explain that from a materialistic perspective?
Yes, if an atheist made a positive claim that the universe is materialistic, period, he would have to make that case, wouldn't he? Except your straw man atheist either doesn't exist or you're just not presenting to us that he exists. You have to show us that this person exists. Otherwise, this is a fucking straw man and a waste of our fucking time. God fucking damn it, I'm hitting all my shit. And now I'm fucking mugging up my audio, and I have to go back and edit it now, and I'm probably not going to because I'm fucking lazy.
How do you explain free will from a materialistic perspective? What do you say, it's an illusion, like Daniel Dennett? That's what he says. He's a new atheist. He says consciousness is an illusion. Well, if it's an illusion, was he conscious when he wrote the book that said consciousness was an illusion? He'd have to be super conscious to know that the consciousness we have is just an illusion.
Okay, now you're throwing a philosopher into the mix. That's fine. You know, I'm not a big fan of philosophers. Sorry if you're into philosophy. I'm not really into it. Not that I don't understand it. I just don't really think it's relevant at all. Go kill yourselves. No, that's not true. Anyways, I respect philosophers, though. I used to spend time thinking about philosophical things. And Daniel Dennett is definitely an atheist, and he's definitely a philosopher. But, you know, his claims on consciousness is kind of irrelevant to atheism as well. But you know what? To defend him, you're completely misrepresenting his work here, and you don't understand what he means by consciousness. He doesn't mean that being awake and consciously thinking of things is an illusion. What he's saying is that we're more of like robots, and what we believe is our free will and our consciousness is an illusion. We don't actually have those things. It's just we believe we do. But I'm not going to get into it because it's just going to misdirect our conversation here, and it doesn't help my argument at all because it's irrelevant to your argument about atheism being a positive claim. It's what, seriously, what the fuck are you even talking about? You're misdirecting us here, aren't you, you fucking piece of shit?
Objective morality, where does that come from?
Doesn't exist.
How about evil?
Evil is a nebulous term. It's an abstract concept. It actually doesn't even really mean anything literally. It's a word used to stir up emotions and create ideas that can't really be literally logically described.
Now, it's very rare to find any atheist attempting to explain more than just one or two of the things I just mentioned.
Probably because those concepts are irrelevant to atheism. I realize at this point you'd rather say God done it than say I don't know, but that's actually an acceptable answer. What would our conversation be like if I told you I believe the universe created itself deity free, and you responded to that, I don't believe that's true, and I said to you, well, that's not proof that I'm wrong, and then I demanded that you explain how God did it, and you couldn't tell me how God did it other than say he's a fucking wizard, then I'd be the asshole going on the internet and telling everybody that you're wrong because you can't tell me how it was done. That's ridiculous.
How could they? How could laws be materials? How could laws be materials? How could laws be materials?
How could laws be materials?
Dude, what the fuck are you talking about? I have a feeling that I know more about your straw man than you do, and that's kind of sad because you created him. Materialism says that everything is physical. Everything is based on atoms and chemicals and blah blah blah. Feelings and emotions are just chemical reactions, and laws and concepts and ideas exist only in our minds, which are machines. They don't exist outside of our minds. If we were to disappear, all of those laws would disappear along with them. But again, you're just arguing philosophy, and that really is deviating from the point that atheism is an assertion that God does not exist. Really, really strayed far away now.
It can't be. See, the point is that when an atheist says that he just lacks a belief in God, he doesn't really just lack a belief in God. He is saying positive things about the world. He's saying everything's made of materials. Well, give me evidence that everything's made of materials. And how could you?
I love that bit at the end. How could you? How could you? Dude, I don't fucking know. Why don't you ask a materialist? Why are you asking atheists?
You can't give evidence that everything's made of materials, because any evidence you bring forth isn't material itself. Any thought you have isn't material itself. And if it is just material itself, why should we believe it? If every thought you have is the result of a previous natural cause over which you have no control, then why should anyone believe anything you say as an atheist?
You shouldn't believe anything you're told about anything ever. You should test it for yourself. Skepticism. Boo, 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 boo. And even if every single thought and concept was created through some sort of a natural process that I had no control over in my own brain, that does not make it any less true.
You see, atheism ultimately is self-defeating. Materialistic atheism. It's self-defeating. There's no way to know atheism is true if it really is true.
Atheism can neither be true nor false, just like your emotions can neither be true or false. But again, you're arguing your straw man atheism. Yeah, straw man atheism cannot be proven true or false. So you win there?
Because if atheism's really true, then we're not really reasoning anyway, we're just reacting.
That one doesn't even make sense. We're not reasoning, we're just reacting. That one just doesn't make sense. What do I even fucking say to that? That's the stupidest. This guy is just whiny.
We're not really thinking. Every thought we have is just a result of a previous natural cause over which we have no control.
Even if that's true, that doesn't change the definition of what thinking is. Thinking is just a natural process in your brain of reasoning, reacting, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Thinking is just a mechanical process in the brain. Whether you are in control of that or if it's an illusion that you're in control of that is irrelevant. It is still thinking. Can we get back to the subject of atheism not really being allowed lack of belief. Please.
So atheism is not really a lack of belief in God. Atheism is the positive assertion that God doesn't exist. And if God doesn't exist, explain how reality exists in his absence.
Okay, wait. That's your conclusion? Ugh. That was your thesis, yes, that atheism is not really a lack of belief in God. And then you just threw in a bunch of bullshit in there that had nothing to do with that argument. You created a straw man and destroyed it. And you know what? You didn't even do that very well. And yet I'm still an atheist, and I still don't believe that a God exists. And I make no assertions about that. You have completely failed at making a case for your thesis. This is a miserable defeat. I don't even want to say, you know what, tip of the hat, good day, sir. You just embarrassed yourself. This was terrible. This is terrible. You want my advice? Get somebody to write this shit out with you so you can make a point-by-point argument.
How can everything be material? You have to make a positive case for that. You just can't say a lack of belief in God. You're just talking about your own psychological state.
Saying that atheists can't possibly lack a belief in God because they do make positive assertions about reality is such a non-starter argument. That is just a nothing argument. That means nothing.
Well, so what? I lack a belief in atheism. Does that mean that Christianity's true? No, not necessarily. You have to give evidence.
No, lacking a belief in atheism by default makes you a Muslim. So I just wanted to give a big thank you for everybody for being so patient. I know this one took a while. Hey, I'm not perfect. Outside of this interwebs world, I actually have a real life, and it's difficult sometimes. Between hay season and funerals and birthdays and the nice weather and trying to capture what was left of summer, you know what? I let some things slide. And sometimes the internet has to be put on the bottom of the list. But I knew you guys would stick around. My subscriber count continued to climb. I'm over 40,000 now. Holy shit. Also, thank you very much to all my Patreon patrons. You guys are fucking awesome. I'm over $200 now per video. I don't know what to say. You guys just fucking rock. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.